introduce our guests today, and they're experts. They all come from different backgrounds and everything. And I'll thank everybody at the end for putting this on in such a short amount of time. It makes it pretty special to get this many people here tonight. We've got from the Kansas City Star. If anybody's wondering why Blair is here, is that there is a 50-50 chance he's going to do about 10 articles on this year. So it's always nice to have the ace in the pocket to chip the game. But from Kansas City Star, he probably knows as much about area basketball / Big 12 as anybody. And of course, he covers it for the Kansas City Star. Obviously, thought it was still Breast Cancer Awareness Month, but it is in February. I think it's a great cause. It's a great cause. Franny, I've known for a long time. Franny was an assistant at Ohio U for Danny D back when I was a graduate assistant here in 85, 86, and they actually came down and visited Coach Brown, and we actually had lunch with him, if I'm not mistaken, one day. But he's a terrific basketball coach. I mean, the guy's won everywhere he's been. And of course, did a great job in Manhattan, St. John's, and of course at New Mexico. And then recently he's become an expert, and as Vital says, he is undefeated here at Lane. But nobody promotes our league better than Fran. And Fran's back on Big Mondays, which I'm really Kansas City. Is that right, Mike? And he's probably as knowledgeable a basketball writer as we have in the country on college basketball. He covers it year-round. He does an unbelievable job. Lives in Cincinnati and has been working for the Sporting News now for how many years?
This will be my
18th season with Sporting News. So he's seen a lot of things, and that, of course, is Michael Courtside. He's a Duke, so they all think we're smarter than everybody else. but certainly was a terrific player at Duke. Played there back in, you guys remember, if I'm not mistaken, Jay, you were a freshman or sophomore in 86. You were a senior in 80, that's why you played like a freshman. Yeah, that would be Louisville when you played better. Jay was on that team that beat Kansas in the 85-86 Final Four, which arguably could be the best Kansas team ever. I mean, as far as all the pieces fit perfect. And of course, he's done an unbelievable job. He's coached and got a law degree, but he wants to be an expert on issues concerning our sport. Of course, does an unbelievable job at ESPN and WG.
For a laundry list of reasons, Ted Owens would not want me saying this, but Ted Owens recruited me, and Kansas is one of my final schools, and I love it. I'm not just saying this because he's sitting here, but your coach is. There's not a better one out there. There's not. Many things I've always admired about Bill, watching him practice, he's got a really unmatched ability to hold players accountable and have them play in a disciplined fashion, but at the same time, not be afraid to make a mistake and play aggressively to win. And that's not easy to do. This is a young basketball team with a lot of new parts, but I was really impressed with the players I saw today and the way they related to each other and related to their coaching staff. It's a good group of players. And if you had told any one of us last year at this time that Kansas would play for the national championship on Monday night, we probably would have said, "What? Really? Could I have someone waiting this way?" But I've come to realize that as the season goes along, young team, older team, whatever, this guy's going to figure it out and have them playing at their best level. And I don't doubt that at the end of it, as we get toward the middle of the year, toward the end, we're not going to see more than a handful of teams that they're not going to be able to say, "Hey, we're better." They're
Allen Fieldhouse is the best place in American football. I'm sitting next to the guy who knows the place is probably number 2. The second thing I would say is that in relation to that, is that I was fortunate enough to attend and cover the Missouri game last year, and I have never, ever been in an atmosphere that was like that. You guys should applaud yourself. This afternoon, I did an interview on the radio in Topeka, and he asked me what I thought of your team, and I hadn't seen your team practice yet, and so I was evaluating what I remembered from last year, sort of trying to slide some of the guys into different roles, and then what I remembered of Ben McLemore from watching him on AAU and that sort of thing. So what I told him was that first of all, I know you're going to have a great defensive team because you have probably, now that Jim Calhoun has retired, the #1 defensive coach in college basketball. That's first. And then I said on offense, I think it might be hard to get points. And then I watched you practice today, and now I'm convinced that the only thing that stands between your team and scoring is them executing. I think that they have a lot of guys who can put the ball in the basket. Ben McLemore, I think he missed 2 shots today out of what he took, but he took a few, so that's a pretty good rate. So you've got a lot of offensive ability. I think you're going to have a great team. If you pick up Sporting News or you saw online, we picked you 12. I would definitely say that that's our first error of the season. I think you'll be much better than that. And I think you're going to have an exciting future without that.
I am glad to be coming back here on Monday. Now, as far as KU, I would echo what Mike says. I'll give you my order. Allen Fieldhouse is the best place in college basketball in one day. Followed by Cameron Indoor Stadium, and I would say Palestine, Philadelphia, which is kind of a mini Allen Fieldhouse. Bill's team's going to be very good again, simply because they are very well coached. And by the way, John Calipari gets this rap a little bit too. I think sometimes when you get a reputation of being a very good recruiter, people automatically assume that makes you not as good a coach. And I think nothing could be further from the truth when it comes to a guy like Bill, because Jay and I and Blair and Mike are around the game all year. We know who can coach. I was fortunate to coach for 23 years. I know who can coach. And even today, Jay and I were watching practice, and Bill's team was running through some set plays, and I said to Jay, man, that's why Bill's so sneaky good. He's running stuff that I as a coach, coaching against him, would have trouble guarding. Bill's team plays hard. They're going to be, this may not be the deepest Kansas team he's had. Obviously, a great recruiting class is on the way. But this team has a chance to really grow. Some of their best players are young players. They haven't gotten the full effect of Bill's coaching yet, because he will have them ready by the time January rolls around. And when people ask me about KU from year to year, I just put it this way. They're going to be 9-0 at home. And in an off year, they'll be 8-1, but they're likely to be 9-0 at home. If they just go 6-3 on the road, which is always doable, they're going to be 15-3. And you're probably going to have, in particular this year, your 9th regular season conference.
We got Kansas, Missouri, and Baylor in the top 10 all year, and going against each other in the first year of that full round-robin schedule, which I really enjoyed in the Big 12 last season. Of course, now that we have that permanently in the 10-team league. But this year, I don't see there being 3 Big 12 teams in the top 10. I think, but I do think that there's potential for 8 teams in this conference to be in the NCAA tournament. I think Oklahoma State and Kansas State will be very good. Baylor's going to be very good. They've got the program up and running very well now. But this Kansas team, Bill, I may be totally wrong about this, but it reminds me just a little bit of the 2009 team. And after the championship of 08, so many losses, Sherrod and Cole always were back as the centerpiece. And that was the year I thought the conference streak was going to end, 2009. Remember, Oklahoma had Blake Griffin that year. Kansas actually was behind in the conference race late in the season. But somehow, some way, Kansas ended up winning all the key games down the stretch. Oklahoma had an injury to Blake Griffin that affected them, but got him back by the end of the year. But it didn't matter. Kansas won. And I forgot what number consecutive conference championship that was, but I just thought that was the most harder conference championship. I think this Kansas team, with what I saw in practice was so impressed with him. Perry Ellis, I don't think he's going to miss a shot all year. He hasn't. He's already 5 for 5 on the year. I think this Kansas team is going to do 12 by multiple games. Be a 1 or 2 seed in the NCAA tournament. I'm sorry, better be in the Final Four. I should be satisfied.
I don't think we're that good. I do like the song. I think that we have a chance. I think that we're a little deeper than we have been, obviously, last year. 6 deep. But we are pretty athletic and everything. But there's keys to every team. This team's nothing like last year's team. And then for us, I think the key will be our anchor and our points. If we can play like the third best center in the country, and Elijah can step over and run the team, I think that'll be the biggest keys. I think the freshmen are going to come, and I think Travis will be rock solid. I think he has some nice pieces. I'm not ready to say they saw us today with practice pieces. So, but I do think we have a chance. And one thing I'm really proud of here is the guys expected to do it. So that is a big bonus because that's half of it. They think they're good, and certainly there's nobody here to tell them anything different except for a special situation. Maybe they don't react the way they should at times, but it should be a great big race. I think West Virginia definitely has something. We needed our league, losing Missouri, at least in my mind, needed personality, and I think Bugs brings personality. I think TCU brings recruiting. Metroplex, a chance to get down there another year. The last 5 years, the worst we've been as a league is when the 3 New York guys. So it's a tremendous league. It should be exciting. Nationally, these guys can touch on this, but in the end, I think maybe better than everybody from a roster standpoint, without question. And Tom done a remarkable job of showing on time turning that thing. But I don't think there's a clear-cut team. I don't think there's as many teams you look at and say, well, last year was definitely 2, Carolina and Kentucky. Definitely 2, 3 was you guys agree? I don't see that. I think there could be 20 teams or 15 teams that all have a shot, and hopefully we'll be one of the teams that makes it. Certainly like our team.
How do you teach toughness? Because those guys that come in as freshmen, particularly the guys with a lot of accolades, high school Americans, if they came in somewhat, I don't want to say soft, because they're not soft, but how do you get them ready for what they're going to expect when they get to tough games on your schedule and conference play?
Here's what a little more toughness.
Ironically.
But I don't know if there's really a formula. I think it's something you just demand every day. And there's little things that we do. We don't do loose ball drills where you get each other. We don't even take charges in practice ever because somebody's going to get hurt. I mean, it's things you talk about that you don't actually do. I want to Coach Sutton, whatever a coach emphasizes, his team will become that over time. And we spend probably 20 minutes a day defensively, and the other 2 hours offensively. But we're better defensively than offensively because every offensive possession is a defensive possession as well. But I got a great staff. Obviously, they do an unbelievable job getting our guys ready. But the thing, I don't think you let kids settle. I don't think it's okay to be average. I don't think it's okay to be anything other than the best you can be. And they know, for the most part, every day they go out there, if they don't have that approach.
And the thing that struck me about Danny was, and I'll get to your question, was how similar he was to Bill in terms of holding his players accountable. When I coached, and Joe Gurley, by the way, worked for me at the University of Mexico. He could attest to this. I was very unyielding about doing little things. I think people who are successful in life, particularly in leadership roles, but particularly in coaching, I heard the word accountability. I think they used it. Making your players do things that they don't realize will ultimately be in their best interest and the best interest of the team. It drives me nuts when I go to a practice and the coach is running line drills with his team and the players don't hit the lines. Because to me, those are the same guys that miss a block out late in the game and cause lost there, that whole team a particular ball game. So I think the big thing with coaching is players. It's human nature that anybody doesn't want to be pushed to their maximum. And a great coach takes a player beyond what the player thinks he's capable of achieving. And what I love about, again, I will kiss Bill's butt here a little bit, but guys like Bill and Tom Izzo, others like that, have the ability to get a player to do things that they don't really believe they can do. And in many cases, Bill is unreasonable. And oftentimes he's got to get on them and really let them have it. But Bill's got a great ability to bring a guy back after he's gotten on. He is the best in the country on the sideline of smiling at a guy during a TV game and going, I'm going to break your neck if you don't fight out and play UMass. And a lot of you remember that game. It was a Saturday afternoon, and about 4 minutes to go in the game, I'm doing a game with Ron Franklin, Jay, and Bill gets a technical. And I said, well, Ron, Bill Self should have probably got that technical in the first half. And I said, did I just say that? I hope Bill doesn't hear what I said. But I felt it as a coach, because there were times when I coached where I felt like they could have me in the first half, and they let me get away with a lot of stuff. Well, we're driving out to the airport, Ron and I were listening to the coaching show. Very first question, Bill, was, Coach, what about the technical foul? You said, well, hell, that's probably a technical I should have gotten in the first half. It was a great lesson for me, because I said, just be honest. A lot of times people say, well, Fran and Jay, they take care of the coaches, but we don't take care of them as much as we know what they're thinking. And it's great when you have a coach like Bill, who in a press conference after the game will tell you what he's really thinking. And if it's his team plays crappy and they win, he'll say it. And it's very, very refreshing. That's a great lesson for me, because sometimes you walk on eggshells when you're covering these guys, because you don't want to hurt their feelings, but the fan at home really wants to know
This day, Max said some news to me, and Mike did too. Your deal